This is something I've wanted to talk about for a really long time. I say a long time, like 2 months ago I started doing some research into this, and it's kind of changed how I view literally everything in life. It's been a massive turning point for me, and it's something I wanted to share with you guys to talk about more, because I didn't know about loads of this stuff before, and I feel like not enough is said about it. There's not like a really wide media coverage of this. There isn't really the information out there that's really accessible to get the information to educate yourself better. I'm talking about the fast fashion industry here. I'm a person that has always loved clothes. I've always been a fan of charity shops and thrift shopping and buying vintage. I always have since I started buying clothes for myself. However, I did also used to be one of the worst when it comes to consumerism and going into town and buying loads of clothes from Primark and H&M and then never wearing them. I was a massive part of this problem, and I feel a lot of shame for how I used to be, especially now I know more about the fast fashion industry and how bad what I was doing was. This is all about learning, and I hope that I'll be able to tell you guys some facts and statistics and hopefully educate you guys a little bit more so we can all make better and more informed choices when it comes to what we're buying and what we're wearing. So I'm going to link in the description everywhere I got sort of all of the statistics and stuff that I'm going to use in this video, and I'm also going to link to some YouTube videos that I use. There's also a great Netflix documentary. All of it will be put in the description because they can explain this way better than I ever will be able to. This video, I hope it will be just an overview of fast fashion, an introduction into the problem, and looking over the basic issues. So I'm going to split this down into environmental impact and social impact, because the fast fashion industry has a massive impact on both, but I think it's easier to break it down that way. I want this to be as simple as possible. But environmentally, I'm just going to come straight in with the statistic. 5% of the world's landfills are filled with textile waste. That might not seem like a big number, but it's actually heckin' huge. 235 million items of clothing were estimated to have been sent to landfills in the spring of 2017 in the UK alone. That's a lot of clothes that have had to be designed, made, manufactured, sent to shops, purchased by you guys, and then thrown away. If that doesn't shock you enough, then more than 15 million tons of textile waste is produced in the US every single year, and that number has doubled in the last 20 years. You might be thinking, why has this number doubled? Why are we generating so much textile waste? How come it never used to be a problem? This is where the fast fashion industry comes into play. The reason that we find clothing so disposable is because there is such a quick turnover with clothes. We can buy clothes so cheaply these days. You can go into H&M, pick up a dress for like £6 or £7. You think, oh, I'm gonna buy a new outfit, and you might wear them once and then throw them away. We've also got out of the practice of mending things that are broken. I'm a sewer myself. I make a lot of my own clothes. I do a lot of alterations and repairs with people, and the amount of people that I know that don't know how to fix a button or how to patch up a hole, that just wouldn't have been the case even 20, 30, 40 years ago. We had a lot more of an attitude of make, do and mend. You fix things that are broken. However, the fast fashion industry, with its high turnover of clothes, encourages this disposable nature of fashion, encourages people to throw away things that are broken. You can replace it really cheaply. You can buy something brand new. You don't have to go to the effort of fixing clothes. With the invent of next day delivery, you can order something and it can literally be in your home by the next morning. There are advantages to the fast fashion industry. It makes clothing accessible for people that don't have a lot of money. However, it does generate this massive waste problem and this massive mentality of clothing being disposable. How many times have you heard people saying that you can't be an outfit repeater? Something that's been in our mentality and our psyche for a really long time, and this all has a massive impact on the environment. It's become an environmental issue because we just simply can't cope with the waste that we're generating from textiles. Further in the environment, I know there are some big name brands that were called out for burning their old stock so that it doesn't get resold, burning old collections, and this is some really high-end brands. Burning stock, that causes a massive problem for the environment. It's a pollution issue, and it's also just incredibly wasteful. If we want to go further into the environmental impacts of this, and we're going to go down the pollution route, just the sheer waste that comes out of factories, the chemicals that are going into water supplies. One of the largest textile manufacturers in the world is Bangladesh. It is the second largest next to China. Factory regulations are despicable, and their waste is all poured out into their local water sources. It's polluting water supplies, it's damaging wildlife, and it's ultimately bad for the people that are working around it. Now, this chemical waste involves the dyes used for making the clothes and all of that kind of stuff. This leads on to the social impact of the fast fashion industry. Many companies are having such a fast turnover of clothes, they're literally bringing in, like H&M gets 4 or 5 deliveries of new stock every single week. Back in the day, designers would release seasons as the environmental seasons went. There would be 4 or 5 seasons a year, if that. They would bring in a new line. We don't have this mentality of like something being in style for a long time now. It's like we're turning over this so quickly. I'm really interested in fashion. I'm interested in the design aspect of fashion, but I believe in the craftsmanship of clothes and of taking something and making it timeless, making it re-wearable is a contributing factor to this whole problem. We're gonna properly hit with the social impact at the moment. How many people look at the clothes that they're wearing or in their wardrobe and think of them as handmade? I know so many people that don't think of them that way, and as a person that makes clothes, I know the amount of effort and time that goes into creating a garment. The fact that most people in their heads feel like their clothes are made by like a machine, it's completely disconnected from any level of like human interaction. I want to talk specifically now about factory workers. Over 3 million people work in sweatshops in Bangladesh. Many of them are children working 16-hour days. They're not given long breaks, and if they are, the lights are often shut off because the factories want to conserve money wherever they can, and so they will turn off the lights to save power. A lot of supervisors are abusive, especially to female workers. The conditions are absolutely unbelievably poor. I didn't realise how bad the problem was. A documentary I watched on YouTube, which I'll link in the description, that really opened my eyes. They sent people undercover into some of these sweatshops, and what they found was just absolutely unbelievable. In 2013, the Rana Plaza building collapsed, and that killed over 1,100 people. People that were forced to go into work when they could see cracks on the walls and they were concerned about their safety, but they were forced to go in anyway. Many women were actually dragged to their desks where they were supposed to be working, and that building collapsed. And for a little while it seemed like retailers were going to start caring. They were going to start putting in regulations to make sure this kind of thing didn't happen again. However, everything that happened was seemingly superficial. They said they were going to put in recommended being the operative word, recommendations for safety regulations. However, undercover reports have shown that staff are being forced to sign paperwork they haven't read, which basically says that they've had training. People are going in to do outs of the area, check everything's in order, and not doing it correctly and just saying yeah it's fine, even when people are still being padlocked in. Their fire escapes are literally being padlocked shut. In 2012, the Dhaka fire broke out and killed at least 117 people, and they're still padlocking people in. They're still padlocking fire escapes shut. There's bars on the windows, people can't get out, and no one seems to be doing anything about it. It's like the scary side of it, I think, personally. The second they want to bring in an actual law to change the regulations, all the companies like no, we're not bringing a law. We've got the recommendations that we're placing on our factories. You look on Misguided, you look on Boohoo, and they've got their mission statements, which basically say they're combating modern slavery. They really care about their workers, and they've got regulations in place. It's all very well and good for them to say they have regulations, but to actually act upon it is another thing, and so many companies just aren't doing it. H&M is one of the worst for this. They have this massive ethos where they say we're going to be a sustainable company, we're striving towards sustainability, we're striving towards combating modern slavery, and we're making sure our workers have great conditions to work in. They're not working any more than a normal, nice, safe working hours day. No one under the age of 18 is working for us. Just not the case. You've still got 11, 12-year-olds going in. They're still being beaten by their supervisors and being forced to work ridiculously long hours. And it's kind of shocking because, like I say, no one's doing anything about it. Why does no one care? Why is this allowed to happen? I was speaking to my mum after I'd like looked at this and was like, I'm quitting buying fast fashion, and she was like, yeah, but surely people would do something if this was really the case. I'm like, no, because no one cares. Don't understand why. I can't understand why. Not only is this fast fashion industry killing the environment, but it's also killing people. And just because we were privileged to be brought up in England or the US or any other really developed country where you could get an education, why should our lives be valued any more than theirs? The fact is that people just aren't necessarily aware that this is happening. When Rana Plaza collapsed, people, you know, it was in the news for a little while, it caused a stir, people started to get outraged, but it's typical of what happens when a disaster happens like that. People get outraged for like a month, and then everything goes back to normal and no one cares anymore. For me, this was like a massive turning point hearing about that. Like, I really care about the environment. I'm trying to go zero waste as possible. I completely scrapped any single-use plastic in my life, and for me this was just a natural progression to go, okay, well, I'm not going to produce textile waste. I'm gonna clothes from charity shops, I'm gonna upcycle. That's just a brief overview of fast fashion and why it's bad. And I'm going to tell you how you can help and how you can not participate in the fast fashion industry. I'm not saying you can never go to H&M and pick something up, because for a lot of people that's unrealistic, and I totally appreciate that. Just because I've quit fast fashion, like, you know, permanently, doesn't mean I'm saying everyone has to. It's just something that I feel strongly enough about that I don't want to participate in any way, shape or form. Basically, it's really easy to not participate. There's charity shops everywhere. I mean, I am lucky that I live surrounded by charity shops. They are one of the first and foremost great ways that you can buy clothes and feel like you're going buying new clothes, and if you desperately think you need a new outfit for an occasion, you can go to a charity shop and pick something up. You learn to like get good at charity shop shopping. First time you go, you might be like, oh my god, I literally can't find anything good. How is this a thing? I know that I'll wear something and people will be like, that's really nice, where'd you get it from? And I'm like, it's a charity shop, and I never find anything good in charity shops. You just need to learn to like get an eye for picking out stuff that you can use, and charity shops are often a lot cheaper, so it's better for your wallet, and it's overall better because you're reusing clothes that someone may have only worn once or twice. Even if it's something that people have worn loads of times, if it's perfectly good condition, then you can style it, you can rework it. That's why I'm really excited to do some videos about, I'm going to take you guys charity shop shopping with me. I'm going to talk about some tips on how to style things and how to like see potential in something. The other great thing is if you have the skills, if you have sewing skills, or even if you don't, there's so many YouTube tutorials. I learned to sew literally from YouTube. Like, I had some basic sewing lessons from my auntie when I was little, and then I re-picked it up as a skill when I was like, what, 18? I decided I wanted to start sewing again, so I looked on YouTube and I learned to sew, and now I make a lot of my own clothes. And something I do massively is upcycling. So I'll take something that I get from a charity shop, turn it into something entirely new. If you want to see some more of like my transformations of things for inspiration or whatever, I have a Instagram dedicated to that called Laura's Always Sewing, which I'll link in the description as well. Another great thing you can do is vintage shop shopping. It's often a little bit more expensive than charity shops depending on where you go. However, buying vintage is great. You not only look amazing, but you're also not buying something brand new, and you're saving that from going to a landfill. What do you do if you have clothes that you don't want and you want to throw them away? It is a problem. Send them to charity. As much as you know, certain things will then get sent on, and you know, there is problems everywhere. Sending stuff to charity shops is one of the best things you can do, because there is a chance that it will get passed on to someone else and they'll utilize it. There's also a lot of DIY things that you can do with old clothes. You can cut them up and use them as rags to clean your house instead of going and buying dusters, whatever you would usually be going to the supermarket to buy to clean your house, whether it be floor cleaning or like cleaning your dishes, drying your dishes. Use it instead of a tea towel. There's a lot of options out there for what you can do with old clothes if you feel crafty. If you don't, that's okay too. There are specific clothing banks that you can go to where they will recycle clothes. The problem with this is, and it's so much to get into in one video because I've already been rambling for a really long time, but that's why I'm gonna make this into like a series type thing, especially when I have more knowledge, because at the moment I'm still very early on in the research process for all of this. Companies like H&M, they say you can go and bring your clothes to them and they'll recycle them, but the fact is that a very minuscule percentage of clothes that you actually donate to these places end up being recycled, because the process for breaking down clothes into fibres to rework into new fibres to make into new fabric is a really long one. They don't have amazing technology at it yet. This is something that definitely needs to be developed, because imagine if you could give them a jumper and they unravel it and they break down the fibres and they make something new of it. That would be amazing if we could do that with all the clothes that are donated, all the clothes that are going to the landfills, use them to make new ones. It'd be kind of like a cool cycle. So in theory it works, and if you want to donate to these places, some of that stuff is broken down and made into new fibres. However, the technology still has a really long way to go, so a lot of that stuff does end up just going to landfills as well. But anything that you do is better than just chucking it straight in the bin. That's my philosophy anyway. Like, I know there's problems with each and every one of these stages. However, anything that you do to help, even a small tiny thing to help, will ultimately have an impact somewhere down the line. Anything is better than nothing in my books. It's like when people, like at the moment I'm going vegan just for January because I have a long-term health condition, which means going vegan is probably not the best for me and I would probably get very sick. However, after January I'm just going to cut out a lot more meat and cut out dairy from my diet. So it's like tiny things that you can do to help, and that you might think is just a small thing. You don't have to go the whole. It can just be a thing that you do to help. Those are just a few things that you can do, not make the problem worse. And also think a lot more, if you do want to still use fast fashion brands, when you go shopping, look at an item and say, do I really need this? Will this bring me joy? There's a Netflix thing about like cleaning out houses. I can't remember what it's called, but the lady, she's always like, if you pick something up, does it bring you joy? You can look at an item and say, does this bring me joy? Am I going to use it? Like, there are things in my clothing that I've just been going through recently to sort of like assess where I'm at with clothes, to see what I can do to like make things more wearable so I can wear them more. I look at certain clothes that I wear all the time. This t-shirt I'm wearing under this, I probably wear it maybe 2 times a week because it's one of my favourite tops. This jumper I wear all the time. This is from Primark, I think, and this is from Nobody's Child. And while I wouldn't buy anything from those places anymore, I don't necessarily regret buying them because they've lasted me a really long time and I rewear them all the time. So that's like a great thing. I'm not saying you have to go and throw away all your clothes from fast fashion places. That will exacerbate the problem. Speaking to some people about fast fashion, and they were like, oh, but you're wearing Primark right now. And I was like, I'm not going to throw away all my own clothes because that adds to the textile waste, and that's a problem. So you don't have to throw anything away. You can, you know, use what you've already got. For me, it's all about finding pieces that you can use all over again. Also, if you do want to buy brand new clothes, there are quite a few companies now that are entirely sustainable and ethical. Places like Everlane, I know, is one of them. Or there's online stores that are like thrift shops, so it is secondhand clothing, but they are selling them online. They've gone through it, they've checked everything's good quality for you. This is like ThreadUp. They're really, really good. I'll link, again, I'm gonna have it all, so many things in the description, but I'll have it all sectioned out so you guys will know exactly what's happening. But there are places like that, so if you can't get to a charity shop, places like ThreadUp are great because you get clothes really, really good deal, and they're good quality. Often they're high-end brands. There's also brands like Lucy and Yak I follow on Instagram. They make really, really nice dungarees, really like cool clothes that you think, like a lot of the time with places like Everlane and stuff, they do like your basics, like your t-shirt. If you want something that's like really out of the box, really jazzy, Lucy and Yak is a really good one. I hope this is enough to be like a basic introduction for you, so maybe it might have changed your opinion on how you're buying clothes, make you think a little bit more, even if it just makes you consider like, I'm gonna buy one top instead of two. It all helps. That's my philosophy at the end of the day. It all helps. So I hope this is also giving you guys some options of what to do if you feel like you want to help. I will be doing some videos on like DIYs and stuff in the future, so I'll take you guys charity shop shopping with me, or go through some clothes I already have and be like, this is how you could upcycle this is how you could turn it into something else. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I had some comments when I did my Christmas haul, and I had some comments being like, oh, you've only mentioned Primark, like Zara's really bad too, like you think it's all just the cheap ones, but it's actually all of them. I am aware. I'm making a video specifically on like the mission statements of certain brands that may make you think that they're ethical or sustainable, but they're not. Something that I've already done a bit of research into Boohoo and Misguided, like I've actually contacted their teams to get information from them, so that will be coming as well, and that's going to be a bit more in depth about specific brands, whereas this was just an overview. So if I haven't mentioned a company that you know is bad, like you can still drop it in the comments to like let people know as well, but like likelihood is I'm aware of it, but I'm not going through specifics in this video as such. Something that like completely changed my life when I started to research into it, and I wanted to share that with you guys just because particularly on this platform on YouTube, I feel like not enough people are talking about it, and like we have a really great opportunity on here to spread this kind of information and to educate people and to help people make more informed and better choices, and I feel like a lot of people aren't utilising it for that, and I would like to utilise it for that because I'm lucky enough to have this platform. So as much as I want to do really fun videos and like talk about Harry Potter and have a good time, I would also like to help make the world a better place. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of thing and other general fun things, and turn on notification bells so you don't miss another upload. And like I said, everything discussed will be in the description, ready for you guys to explore and do some research for yourself. That's essentially it. Okay, goodbye. Can I say bye?
Yo.
Okay, that was bye.